Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We're going to give everyone a few minutes to join in. I'm going to post a few links um, and start the presentation soon. All right. Good morning, everyone. It's 11 o'clock, so I think we'll get started and see if anybody trickles in as we're going. Um, my name is Sean McCormick. I'm an environmental scientist in the Office of Water Resources here at DEM, joined with Betsy Dake, um, who's also an environmental scientist in the Office of Water Resources. We both work in the Section 319 Nonpoint Source Program. Um, Excited to have all of you. Also excited to have this solicitation for grant projects open. Um, One thing we wanted to note that if you have any questions as we're going through the presentation, please feel free to stop us and ask the question if you want to unmute or if you want to raise your hand. We'll be trying to keep track of that as best as possible. But we thought it would be best to address questions as they come up during the presentation. We'll also have a dedicated question and answer session at the end. And I'd expect that it'll probably be about a half-hour presentation and leaving the rest of the time for questions. So first to kick us off, our funding statement. Funding for this request for proposals is provided by Section 319 of the Clean Water Act by the United States Environmental Protection Agency through the Rhode Island Department of Environmental Management. In terms of our timeline, so this RFP or solicitation opened on July 30th. We're holding our informational workshop today, August 20th. Um, we did want everyone to let everyone know that we're going to be holding two optional office hours, something new that we're trying for this RFP. The first one will be next Tuesday, August 25th, from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. And then another on Thursday, September 17th, from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. These will be informal, as we'd mentioned, optional sessions where if you have a question that you wanted to discuss, feel free to drop in. We'd also be happy to address any questions via email or phone call as well. And the links to those Zoom sessions for the optional office hours will be posted on our website. And the RFP submission deadline is October 16th at 4 p.m. In terms of who is eligible and who can apply, it includes municipal, state, and regional governments, quasi-state agencies, public schools and universities, nonprofit environmental and conservation organizations. It must have IRS status 501c3, and it can include other nonprofit 501c3 organizations, such as lake associations that have the capacity to carry out eligible projects. Next, we look for the grantees to have the capacity to be able to carry out the projects, and we break that capacity down into a few different categories. First being financial capacity. Does your organization have enough cash reserves to pay for a project and be reimbursed? That is because the grants that we offer through the Section 319 non-point source program are typically reimbursable. So the grantee would incur the project costs first and then seek reimbursement. The frequency of reimbursement cannot be more frequent than monthly, but it could potentially be monthly, quarterly. Sometimes for smaller projects, it's once the entire project is done. If you have a project-specific question on financial capacity, please reach out to us and we'd be happy to discuss that with you and see if there might be some potential solutions. Next, for organizational capacity, there's lots of moving parts, people to organize, schedules to maintain, deadlines, and things like change orders. Um, we want to see that the organization has that capacity to be able to manage all of those things. And if not, is there a partner that you can find who might be able to lend you support for organizational capacity? It could be a municipality or a large watershed group that has a significant experience. For construction projects, there's some specific capacity that we look for there. such as, has your organization managed a construction project before? How would construction of the project be monitored? Grantees must demonstrate prior success with construction projects, with construction project management, unless you're a municipality. And finally, administrative capacity. Your organization must be able to comply with federal fiscal requirements such as accounting, record keeping, procurement, and reporting procedures. And if you have any questions on whether or not your organization would meet these capacity requirements, please reach out to Betsy and I, and we'd be happy to discuss. And this next slide shows the eligible watersheds. So for the Section 319 non-point source program, in order for a project to be eligible, it must be in a watershed that has an EPA approved watershed plan, and that project should be included in the implementation table within that watershed plan. And so we have all of the current EPA approved watersheds that have an EPA approved watershed plan depicted here. We're excited to announce that Aquidneck Island has as of recently this year has a EPA approved plan and is now eligible to seek grant funding for projects on the island. And then getting into types of eligible projects for construction. The first type is aquatic habitat restoration. And some of the examples include removing pavement along a stream and planting a native species buffer, improving habitat in existing buffers with additional plantings, for example, shade trees along streams to improve cold water fishery habitat, or removing invasives and planting native species. Improving stream connectivity caused by substandard stream crossings, for example, perched culverts, blocked crossings, or crossings in disrepair. And boat wash facilities to prevent the spread of invasive species. For our next category of agricultural best management practices, those can include construction of BMPs in fields to retain stormwater and sediment in place to prevent erosion and downslope sedimentation, installation of erosion and sedimentation controls, fencing to restrict animal access to streams, construction of other agricultural BMPs to mitigate non-point source pollution, for example, manure management. And as a note, individual farmers are not eligible for funding, but third parties, such as conservation groups, may partner with them. For our next category, on-site wastewater projects. These are the projects that would result in the replacement of a failing or a substandard system, which includes cesspools. And it also includes enhancements to municipal on-site wastewater treatment system programs that build capacity for more effective management, including proper maintenance. As a note here, on-site wastewater treatment system replacement for individual homeowners is not eligible under this program. And where consistent with the watershed plan, these funds can be used to connect homeowners that currently have failing on-site wastewater treatment systems to existing sewer lines, but not for a new development or expansion of use. Next, for stormwater abatement best management practices. And we have a note here, and we'll discuss on the next slide in further detail, but that there are restrictions on these projects in Rhode Island. So these can include implementation of water quality restoration actions, including the installation of best management practices that mitigate, control, or eliminate the effects of stormwater pollution. It's okay to include final design if the conceptual designs and site location are done and the project will be built. And now in terms of those restrictions, Section 319 funds cannot be used to fulfill municipal stormwater system or MS4 specific permit requirements because those are considered to be point sources. Stormwater projects can be done in MS4 areas if and only if they infiltrate stormwater prior to it becoming part of the MS4 conveyance system, or they remove stormwater from the MS4 conveyance system and infiltrate it. Um, Section 319 funds also cannot be used for projects that implement a TMDL, except for the statewide bacteria TMDL. And we strongly recommend that you see page 7 of the RFP document. DEM added a significant discussion of stormwater projects in MS4 areas and their potential eligibility or not eligibility. And for project priorities, some of the things that we are really looking for are projects that achieve their targeted goal while providing environmental co-benefits, projects that improve water quality in waters used for drinking water supply, shell fishing, or public recreation, projects that optimize the visible use of green infrastructure, and updates to local ordinances that include but are not limited to low impact development. And for the next part of the presentation, I will shift things over to Betsy.
Hi, can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, so now we talk about how much can you ask for? The total amount that we have available is $750,000. Subject to action by the federal government, I think we're pretty set now on 750,000. Now, we have no required federal funding limits, large or small, but we would expect that the grant applications would generally fall somewhere in the vicinity of $25,000 to $250,000 per project. When they're generally a lot smaller than that, we can run into issues. It's just a lot to handle for a small amount of money, and larger than that, you take up a large portion of our funding. But give us what you have, and we'll see what we can do. You never know. Okay, Sean, do you have control of this? There we go. Thank you. Okay, so we also require match. So everybody has to provide match. It must be directly related to the project. It can be either cash or an in-kind contribution. So that can be non-cash. It has to be non-federal funds. So you cannot match a federal grant with another federal source of funds, whether that be another grant, any other kind of federal funds. You can use municipal employee time. That is fine as long as it's directly related to the project. So if it's a construction project and your municipal folks are working on it, you can use that time. That's fine. Go ahead, Sean. Okay, so how much is the match? The general idea is that the Section 319 project pays for 40% of your project costs. I'm sorry, the match is 40% of your project costs. We pay for 60. At the director's discretion, the required match can be reduced to 25%. Remember, the match is a percentage of the total budget, grant plus match. So the best way to calculate it is figure out the total cost of your project. 40% of that is going to be your match. 60% of that is what you ask us for. But very often people want to calculate the match from the desired grant amount that they're asking for. And that is what I will ask you to demonstrate. I'm never going to ask you to demonstrate overmatch. I will require you only to demonstrate 40% of the total project cost in relation to the amount that you asked for. So to double check that your match cost is correct, and I know this sounds odd, but I promise you the math is correct. Just take your grant amount, multiply it by 0.667, and that will give you the 40% of your match. That will double check. The best way, of course, again, is to figure out the total project cost and then just calculate 40% match. But to double check, you can do this calculation. The reduced match 25% is the 0.3334. Hope that makes sense. If anybody has a question, you want to raise your hand or just believe me. Okay, go ahead, Sean. I don't see any hand. Oh. Okay. Land acquisition. Interestingly, no one's ever taken us up on this, but land acquisition is generally not available for grant funds, but you can use it as a source of match if you don't own the land prior to the project start. If you would like to buy land on which to put your project, you can do that, but you can only buy the land on which you're going to place your BMP or your project. So if you own it prior to, you cannot use the cost of the land. But if you buy the land to put your BMP or your project on, you can use it as match. Okay, go ahead, Sean. Okay, for a timeline on your project, we'll give priority to projects that can be finished in a single year. But most projects should be finished. We expect to be finished in 2 years. We expect you to come in with your project pretty well ready to go. When you get a grant agreement, we hope that you will be ready to go. But if you have very large or a very complicated project, you can ask us for 3 years, but we do expect that to be the exception, and you have to let us know why it's going to take that long in writing. The issue here is that we only have access to our money for 5 years, and if projects get delayed or if they take an extraordinarily long time, the issue is that you could run out of, or we could not have access to the money that we funded that with. So again, we'll give priority to projects that be completed in one. It's okay, it's fine if it takes two, but we expect that things should be done in two if possible. Okay, Sean. Okay, so what happens if we don't get it done by our deadline? Okay, any project that falls significantly behind could have their grant reduced or rescinded. If you're not done by the end of your grant agreement, you'll only be reimbursed for the projects that you've spent, but the remainder of the funds are unavailable to spend. In the past, we gave time extensions freely. They are no longer freely available. So make sure you plan ahead. Time extensions have to be justified by a letter to the director of DEM. And for the exact reason I just explained, because our money has a time limit on it. And our things need to move along in a way that can be handled. Okay, go ahead, Sean. Okay, so the following things are big no-nos. You cannot start the work on your project, any work that's going to be done as a grant-funded expense prior to having a fully executed grant agreement. Okay, so if you expect any work to be paid for with a grant in your project, please do not start it until you have a fully executed grant agreement, till we have gotten everything signed and I have informed you. I will call you and email you and tell you go. Don't start until then, because what'll happen is we will not be able to pay those expenses. So don't do that. Also, indirect expenses are generally not available, with a possible exception for nonprofits. Also, we do not do advance payments. As Sean mentioned earlier, our grants are reimbursable. And again, as I mentioned, we don't do automatic extensions anymore. Okay, Sean. All right, writing a proposal. All the awards are now done through our grants management system, which is through Unit eCivis, and that includes everything. Submission of your applications, the application review, the notification of award, all of the grant management, all of your reporting, and your invoicing and payment. It's all done through this system. That was a change about 3 years ago. And yeah, so that's where we are. Okay, go ahead, it's a big change. Go ahead, Sean. So what makes a good proposal? Your project needs to be specific, and it needs to demonstrate, or it needs to help solve a demonstrated non-point source water quality or aquatic habitat problem. In general, it needs to be something in your watershed management plan that's been mentioned in your watershed management plan for your area. It needs to be well thought out. It needs clear roles for each of the partners and the grantees. The grant application needs to have the adequate authority to carry out the project. So the person who's applying for the grant has to be able to carry it out. Sometimes you'll have an organization that wants to carry out a project on municipal land. In that case, you would have to partner with the municipality, so you would have the authority to carry it out on the municipal property. Okay, your project narrative needs to be concise, clear, and easy to understand. And your budget needs to be realistic, and your match needs to be appropriate and well calculated. Okay, go ahead, Sean. Okay, so the application pitfalls are that you're not following the proposal. You don't have measurable goals. You need to be able to see what you're doing by your project and to be able to find a measurable goal. Did you build BMPs? Okay, if you built BMPs, what water quality problem are they solving? Are they reducing phosphorus? Are they reducing sediment? Are they reducing nitrogen? How much? That can all be calculated by the BMPs. Those things need to be reported. So if you think that you're going to build a BMP, tell me what you expect to be able to reduce in terms of how much pollution do you expect to be able to be removed by putting in this BMP. It has to be in an eligible watershed. If you can provide a site map and a locus map, put that in, add that. And just make sure your project is really well planned and realistic. It's your project. I'm not doing this for you. So it's your project that you want to do. So think it through and present as something that you really want to do and do well. And that's how you get approved for grant agreement. Okay, go ahead, Sean. Okay, the evaluation, we will review it first to make sure that it has everything it needs to have, and then we'll take a look and that all of the grant selection committee will review it through the system. It is a numerical review, so there's really no objective or subjective. It's a very objective review. There's no subjective fee to it. And then once we get done, we'll present a list to the DEM director and EPA. They'll approve it, and then we'll announce and give up and announce the grant awards. And then we'll start writing grant agreements. Okay, go ahead, Sean. All right. So what do we do? How do we evaluate your project criteria? These are the project criteria on which we evaluate your project, other than how well it's written. What is the severity and the magnitude of the problem that you're trying to fix? And are you going to fix it? What's the value of the resource protected? And what's the public benefit that's derived by the project that you're doing? Is there beneficial impact to the water's estate, load reduction, or what is the load reduction, which is what I just talked about, the amount of pollutants you're reducing, and or what is the improvement to the aquatic or riparian habitat? What's the technical merit or the likelihood of success of this project? Is it consistent with the watershed plan? What's your capacity? Do you have a history of doing other prior projects? Are you ready to proceed? Or do you have a lot of other work that you need to do? And what's the quality of your proposal, including is your financial information out? And those are things you are judged on. So this year, as we mentioned earlier, we're going to be holding a couple of Zoom office hours. We will be available to answer any questions, general or project specific. We'll just be available for you to call in and to Zoom in and chat with us. You can come or not, stay as long as you want or as short as you want on August 25th from 11 to 12 and on September 17th from 2 to 3. The Zoom registration links will be posted on our DEM 319 Wood Source Project website. So I think that's about it. Thank you so much. Here are Sean's and my email addresses if you want to email us. Basically, first and last name, Sean.McCormick and Betsy.Dake, D-A-K-E, and dem.ri.gov. And feel free to contact us with any questions. The only time we can't talk to you is after things are really rolling, but we can talk to you now. Do you have any questions? Does anybody have any questions for us? Feel free to unmute. Anybody? Wow, I guess we did a good job, Sean. All
All
righty, Sean,
right.
I'll bounce back to you.
Okay. Well, I guess thank you everyone for attending. I'll plan to stay on for about 5 more minutes in case any questions do pop up. Um, but just as a reminder that there are some links to the DEM website that has the full RFP, as well as the State of Rhode Island Funding Opportunities website. Um, if you haven't looked at those already, we encourage you to. Um, and also that we encourage anybody um, who's interested in submitting a project, that we strongly recommend you take a look at your watershed plan and specifically the implementation table to see what projects were provided there and discussed there, because that's a great starting point towards finding a great grant project.
Thanks all for coming. One last thing, if anybody's interested in the presentation, just email me. I'm happy to send you the presentation. Really quick, Sean, could you repeat about the projects in MS4 areas, but not as part of the MS4? David Kirkowski would like a little bit of
Sure.
detail about MS4.
Um, yes, let me see if I can get back to that slide. Um, so generally speaking, because BMP projects that would be within MS4 areas would likely be part of the MS4 permit requirements, um, that's why they're generally not eligible. But um, the parts that could be considered eligible would be if the stormwater projects infiltrate stormwater prior to it becoming part of the um, municipal stormwater conveyance system, or if they remove it from the stormwater, they remove stormwater from the MS4 conveyance system and then infiltrate it. Um, and I would also recommend, so page 7 of the RFP, particularly for this RFP, we wrote up a pretty detailed discussion of that. So I would strongly encourage taking a look at that to see how it might affect your potential project consideration if it's in an MS4 area. Um, and if you do have any like specific questions on a project that you're thinking of that's in an MS4 area, please reach out to us. We'd be happy to take a look at some of the project details and discuss it with you.
David, um, if I can give you an example of this, one we did in Bristol, we did a school where we infiltrated all of their stormwater from the school on the school property before it ever became part of the stormwater conveyance system. There was the street and the because it was gutters. So we before it ever reached the gutter system, we actually infiltrated all the roof runoff and all the parking lot runoff into the school grounds. So it never even reached the street and the gutters. So that's the kind of thing where it would be eligible because it never got to the conveyance system, which would be the gutters. Does that make sense? That's the type of thing that we're talking about. Okay, great. Good. Anybody else have anything cool, interesting question?
Looks like we have a raised hand from Joan Fandetti. Joan, if you'd like to unmute.
Good morning, Sean,
Good
and
morning.
good morning, Betsy. Thank you for being so responsive during email time. I can't thank you, each of you, so much for your quick replies always. So I appreciate and thank you for that. We here in Bonnet have our West Quaich Pond, which has many phragmites, many thickened phragmites. We are going to try with a second funding to take an area of what we have surrounding each of the ponds and with the blessing from DEM and CRMC, what can be taken away because they are Phragmites and we don't touch Phragmites unless we are told specifically what we can do, what distance away from an item we can remove them, and the height, and even remove them, like I was told yesterday by Mr. Fitzpatrick at CRMC. Clearance of Phragmites for a view is not allowed, but clearance of Phragmite on, let's say, our Camden Landing in Bonnet is an okay thing because it's an access point. So my wonderment is, as a newbie to this kind of stuff, although I have been on the land trust 2.5 years, is this is going to be a huge undertaking for us with trying to thin out, quote unquote, for lack of a better term, phragmites on our causeway. Is this something we can even think about, Sean or Betsy?
Um, so, so I guess knowing that there's the existing state-funded grant project through the
Correct.
BWRF. So I think part of the goal of that grant project will be having an engineering environmental services plan that will help to alleviate some of the flooding issues that are experienced there,
Yes.
adjacent to Westgeach Pond,
Mhm.
including the management of Phragmites. And so I think what we would expect is one of the outputs in that plan that would be created under that grant project would discuss um, the current severity of Phragmites at the pond and
Yeah.
a recommendation for kind of like in terms of how much should be removed and where the key areas would be, and some information along those lines. And I think,
That's good.
and I know that in our discussions with Bonnet Shores Fire District, we had discussed that formulation of that plan will be in consultation with CRMC so that there'll be some feedback and input from them in terms of eligibility and feasibility so that when it comes time to implementation, um, we'll know that those applicable regulators like CRMC will have given their blessing for whatever level of Phragmites removal is proposed.
Okay. Excellent, because we certainly know we would never use chemical. I'm thinking like digging, like that would be our only option. But it's good that we have the one already being worked on with a group of engineers because
Joan,
we can be this. Hello?
yeah, it's Betsy. This is a big project. Phragmites is big. Phragmites is very tenacious. It loves to come back.
Yes.
Digging, when you dig it out, you have to dig out the roots all the way. You have to dig deep. We did a Phragmites removal project in Bucky Brook. And
Oh,
it was very big and very expensive. And we had to bring in um, large, large, basically steam shovels to get it out. Um, it's it's a large project. Don't say, yeah. There are multiple ways to deal with Phragmites, and you need to wait and see what the report says. Honestly, it's not something you can go after with um, a group of people and some shovels. Um,
okay.
it's a big
Thank you.
deal. Yeah, it's a really big deal. I'm sorry to say it, but it's just a big deal.
I
So I
just
think,
knew it would be.
yeah, no, I'm sorry, but unfortunately, wait and see what the BWRF report says,
Yes.
and go after it in the way that they suggest. And they
Thanks.
may suggest chemicals because in some large infestations, that's really the only way you're going to get at it. So be open to what they suggest and just wait and see what it says, because I think that's going to be the best way. I mean, the only way frag is just brutal. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to tell you
I
that, but it's tough stuff.
No,
Some
listen,
tough stuff.
I'm such a direct person, so I so appreciate this.
It's
It's
tough.
like I walk by them every day. I do a 4 mile walk at 5:30 in the morning, and I love them daily as I'm passing through. And I'm
Yeah.
like, but there's so many of you.
Yeah.
Like they just keep, we're not going
They
to have
keep
a
coming back.
pond left.
No, I know. They
The-
keep coming back.
they-
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
they're going to take over.
science-
But
the
go
scientists,
ahead.
they've got a group of specialists working on how to get rid of it. And that's probably the best way, is to just see what they say. Um,
That's perfect.
and then, and they may have a part for your group to play in that after they've gone after it. Because sometimes they take after the big stuff first and then have to clean up the little stuff around the edges. And that may be what you guys do. I don't
I
know.
appreciate it. Thank
Sure, no
you.
problem.
No,
No problem.
that's perfect.
Okay,
I'm happy we have someone in front of us. That's
good.
perfect.
Yeah, yeah.
The other thing, yeah,
I'm glad you got somebody
thank you.
working on it already.
That's what I'm saying. I'm so
Yeah,
glad we have somebody that's, this is already in the works and we can just take the next step and follow their lead.
yeah,
That's the safest way to handle this.
I think so.
Absolutely. And the correct way.
I think so.
Thank you. Thank you
Sure.
both very much.
Certainly.
Mhm.
It looks
Paulette,
like uh,
I think Paulette's up. You have to unmute Paulette. Paulette, can you unmute yourself, please? We can't hear you. Sean, can you shake your head, or? Can you unmute her, Sean?
Paulette, unmute.
Paulette, I just sent a request over to you to unmute your microphone.
No, I lost it.
Unmute. You have to unmute yourself.
I'm trying.
Oh, I got it now. We got you.
Okay, I can't see you now, but can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
My question is based on Joni's question that we just discussed.
Nope, we
Nope.
lost you again.
The sound dropped out again, Paulette.
Answer the phone.
I'm muted.
All right. I'm going to
It's not unmuted.
All right. Stay on the
Good.
phone with me. Stay on the phone. Okay, hold on.
All right, you're
So,
good.
Are you gonna ask my question?
No, you are. I'm going to hold the phone. They can hear you through my phone. So talk to them.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I'm
Talk
sorry.
to-
I don't know why it wasn't unmuting. Okay, so my question is related to Joni. This is Paulette from the Bonnet Shores Land Trust. Based on what you just discussed with Joni, are you saying that we should not apply at this point and wait till the report from the other grant
No.
is done and follow that lead?
No.
I would say so. I would wait. If you're
Wait.
planning on applying for Phragmites control, I would wait and see what the BWRF report says. Yes.
Okay, so we're gonna just hold off on this at this point.
I would, because you don't know what you need to do yet.
Yes, okay, that's what we were thinking too. That's why we were confused about should the other thing go first, or we
Yeah.
don't want to be spinning our wheels for nothing.
Yeah. We do this about every 2 years. So there would be another chance once you know what's going on.
That makes sense.
Okay,
Makes a lot of
that's
sense.
very helpful. Thank you. That saved us a ton of energy.
Yeah.
And then
And
I'll also, sorry, Betsy.
Go ahead.
I was just going to also mention that
But thank you for answering my question.
sure. I was just going to also mention that the BWRF, that state bond grant program that funded the original study, that is up for the vote on the November ballot this year. And if that's approved by voters, then there will likely be another round of BWRF grants that would start next year. And so that would be another potential opportunity.
The study from the first grant, so we
Correct.
should know where we're going at that point.
Correct.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
No problem, ladies.
Okay,
Bye, Paulette.
bye. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Lee.
Yes. Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. Just a quick question about the Phragmites at Bucky Brook. And I know the area over there,
Mhm.
but if such a big project, do the Phragmites grow back after such a huge project to remove them? Do they come back?
We are in process of developing a maintenance program for that.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
Yes, they do. We were down there in the spring to double check it, and I just said to Sean, we need to get back down there. The problem is we only have access to it through the airport. So
Yeah.
we have to
Mhm.
arrange, we arrange with them to get access. They have to come unlock the gate, and then we
Yeah.
drive down there. And
Okay.
so we just arranged to get access through the airport, and we're going to go take a look down there in the fall. See
Okay.
how things, I'll tell you what, the last time I went and looked, it was amazing. We cleared out to about 60 feet wide at the point it was down to nothing. There was no stream visible stream channel. We cleared it out to a 60-foot wide channel. When we went down there, there was still a 60-foot wide channel a year later.
Yeah.
It
Well,
was amazing. And we took pictures of herons down there. And I mean, there were all kinds of beautiful animals down there.
Yeah.
It was gorgeous. So, we're keeping an eye on it, and we're developing a maintenance plan for DEM. And
Okay.
so we're working on keeping that open.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
no worries.
That's
No
a
worries.
continuation of monies probably that go towards that. Okay.
Yeah, we will continue maintaining that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So yeah, no worries. Anybody else? Joan, is that left over or are you asking again?
No, may I have a copy of today's
Absolutely. Absolutely.
online? I would love to have a copy, if you wouldn't mind, please.
Absolutely. Would you email me and ask me for it and I will return it to you by email? It's
Yes, sir.
Betsy,
I certainly will.
Betsy dot BETSY dot DAKE
E.
at
I
DES.
have you in my system. I'm so
Oh,
proud to
that's
say.
great. Yes, I'm glad because
We've gone back and forth
yeah,
already.
we
So
have. We have. Just
yes.
email me and I'll return it. I'll send it
That's
back.
awesome.
No worries.
Thank you kindly.
Of
Yep,
course.
appreciate it.
Of course. We would have handed it out if you were here.
Awesome.
Okay, well, I guess we'll do one final call for questions.
Guess that's it.
Okay, yeah. But
Hi, Stephanie's note taker.
if anything does come up, feel free to call or email us. I'm happy to discuss that way. Or if you want to join the office hours session next Tuesday, that would be great as well. But thank you everyone again for attending. We hope this was helpful. We look forward to the applications. Thank you.